Here's how to earn the most amount of money as an Uber driver. Just for those of you watching, screenshot this list. Buy a cheap Toyota Prius, find a reliable mechanic, do all your own maintenance if you can, drive late nights into the early morning, study the Surge map, multi-app all the time, cherry pick only the best fares. Shout out to Gig U. Perfect how to earn tips. Drive 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and sleep in your car if necessary. After 6 years and 15,000 trips, everything on that list will help you make more money. But the question is it worth it? Hi, my name is Levi Spires. This is the Tip You in the App Daily Drive podcast. Today's Daily Drive podcast is brought to you by the Gig U app. No doubt, if you can get a really cheap car, drive lots of late night hours, cherry pick the best rides, you can make a lot of money, a lot more money than a lot of other drivers as an Uber driver, especially if you multi-app and are really efficient. There is money to be made. But again, the question I'm asking is it worth it? Because working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, the overnight shift, that alone sounds horrible, at least to me. I don't know how it sounds to you. So this idea has been consuming me, the trade-offs that we make. We know there's more money out there for us to be made as drivers, but we do compromise that at times to do something different. In fact, there's more money to be made doing a lot of things. Making money is something that is available to most people, especially if you're in a place like America. You could, for example, work day and night as an Uber driver, and then on the side, learn how to code and start to develop your own app and become a software developer, etc. There's more money to be made, is all I'm saying. But it takes a lot of work and time and effort. So there's this book that I've been reading. Well, I've been listening to, I should say. I've been multitasking in my car as an Uber driver. It's called The Technological Society. It's by Jacques Ellul. He's a French philosopher, and the book was written in 1950. It's dense. It's an 18-hour audiobook. I'm only 2-3 hours into it. But I want to explain it to you just for a second, because this is going to dive really deep into the subject about making money. In the book, he describes things as techniques. A technique can be just about anything to make you more productive, more efficient. A good example of a technique could be software on your phone. A technique can be a way to do things faster. It's limitless, the number of techniques. And I'm thinking about techniques as an Uber driver. So, for example, I just gave you a whole list of them to some extent. Drive really late at night and cherry pick rides. That is a technique. Another technique would be to learn how to do all your own maintenance. That's a technique to save money, become more efficient. It's limitless, the number of techniques that are out there. Now, what does the book warn against, though? Why are we as humans in this never-ending pursuit of efficiency and productivity? At what gain are we getting from that? And it's a real challenge to me mentally. I just wanted to push myself a little bit and challenge myself as an Uber driver. I know, and you know, there are ways for us to make the most amount of money out there. And we always trade that off a little bit. I think we compromise that. And that's not anybody's fault but our own. If we know there's more money to be made, but we just don't do the things that we need to do to make more money, whose fault is that? It's our own. But is it a bad thing? So I wanted to try, and I've been trying it. I'm not done with this experiment yet, but I wanted to give you an update. This summer, I'm literally just going for taking every single Uber trip. I'm going out at the worst times. and I'm in the worst areas to pick up rides. I'm doing the exact opposite of what it might take to make the most amount of money. Now, of course, we all live in different cities and different times and all these type of things. We drive different cars. But instead of working a 7-hour or a 12-hour shift overnight, cherry picking rides, and being as efficient as possible using techniques, I'm literally just turning the app on, driving to a spot, a location, and letting the Uber algorithm control me. I'm relinquishing to it to some extent. And that's not a good thing. I'm not saying this is good. Again, the whole title of this is my Uber strategy that nobody recommends. That's the title of this. And I have not been making that good of money. I don't, the money's not as good when you do it this way. And so let me give you an example of yesterday. So yesterday, I slept in because I didn't get home till like 1 o'clock from visiting my son in New York City, and we were out all day. So I slept in a little bit, and then I got up, I did some writing, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go out and I'm going to Uber drive. And I think we left around 3 o'clock or something like that. And I wanted to give you my numbers and kind of go from there. I had 10 offers. I took 10 rides. I was out of my house for a period of about 7.5 hours. I earned $102 in fares on those 10 rides. I drove 159 miles because, again, I'm taking everything. I drove 159 miles. And at a cost of 30 cents per mile, my costs were $47. My profit on just the fares alone was $54. And I was out of my house for 7.5 hours. And I made $7.10 an hour. Another way to look at it would be, well, I had $102 in fares. There was $33 in promotions. I earned 3 tips, a $5, $4, and a $1 tip out of those 10 rides. So my total revenue was $145, and my active time was 3 hours and 49 minutes. Now, during that time, I did go to get my car washed, and that took about an hour to get my car washed. I stopped off at the tire place. I got a little slow leak, and I was hoping that they would be able to fix it, but they weren't able to fix it, so there's that. And I ended up sitting parked for a long period of time, not getting any rides, but I was sipping on a milkshake from Chick-fil-A. So my active time was only 3 hours and 49 minutes. So my profit per hour was $25, even with the high miles. Now, let's take a look at some of these rides that we had. Again, I'm not going to go through all 10 of them, but you could see some of these doozies. And again, I got a $9.49 offer with a 16-minute pickup and a 7-mile pickup. Using the GigU app, you can see my profit per hour is $15.35. I did get a $5.97 ride. I got a couple of $5 rides. This one, the profit per hour was $17 an hour after my expenses. And I got a couple of good ones. I had this priority one. I was sitting parked for a little while, and I got a priority one where it paid me, for 14 minutes, $27 an hour in profitability. And then I had this one, I was kind of heading back to my house, and then all of a sudden it gave me a ride that was near my house, back to the city, a 22-minute pickup, 13-mile pickup. But it did pay me $34, and so I took it. Again, I took every single trip. Now, what have I lost by doing this? On one hand, by doing this, I feel like I've lost agency, lost control to the app. I've given up control to the algorithm, and that's not a good thing. But here's another thing that I've lost. Lost income. I think I could have made more money not trying to pursue this. Now, there was a bonus, and I was kind of lucky that there was a bonus. I never get a bonus near my house, but for whatever reason, Uber said Monday afternoon there's a bonus, and that's why I went out. But I probably could have made that same amount of money just literally going to the airport and taking a couple of airport trips. It was really not that smart. But what did I gain? Why do this? Less stress. It's so much less stress to do it this way. Just turn the app on and go out and just kind of see what happens. I don't have to calculate anything. I do have the GigU app, and so I'm able to see all the calculations, but I didn't have to do that. But I think the thing that stuck out with me the most was the adventure itself. It's about control. Again, technique, control. I still made a decision to go out and drive. I still made a decision that I was going to take my Tesla instead of my Prius. I still made a decision that, you know what, I'm going to turn the app off between rides. So I still made some decisions. But for the most part, I was at the whim of the adventure of the Uber app. It's like opening up your sails on a lake, but not trying to control the rudder. Who knows where the wind is going to push me? And it's less stress, and it left room for the surprise. Who knows what's going to happen? Instead of focusing on how much money can I make, I'm focusing on stories and the people that I meet and observing the city around me. It's a different mindset. I equate it to a couple of different things. Have you ever seen the movie The Big Lebowski? The dude. Now the dude's lazy, doesn't work, but there's the dude. Or maybe like a guy, a surfer on the beach who just lives on the beach. Just, hey, whatever the day is, the day goes. You're just relinquishing like this idea of I got control over everything. The final thing though is, because I've been reading this book, I happened to, going through my playlist, I listened to the John Denver song, Rocky Mountain High. And in that book, or in that story, in the video, in the music, in the song, in the song, John Denver talks about, this character. This guy moves to the Rocky Mountains in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He left yesterday behind him. You might say he was born again. You might say he found a key for every door. And I'm not going to read the whole song to you here, the lyrics, but this guy abandoned one life to find freedom hiking through the Rocky Mountains and on the trails. And he just enjoys the scenery around him. So instead of trying to hike the fastest way he can hike or climb the highest, he's just in the mountains and enjoying the mountains, or the surfer just enjoying the beach. Whatever the waves are, and you go out there and you surf the waves for those days. I'm not saying this is a strategy for making money, and I don't think I'm going to do this for a very long time. I'm going to go broke if I did this for the rest of my life as an Uber driver. I do think it's what's important for me as the provider in my household, if anything, to earn and make money and provide food and shelter for my wife and my children. But this exercise, and I'm using a time of year when it's really slow. I don't know if I would do this, during peak college season for me here in Syracuse, but it's slow. So what's the difference between making $140 in a day or 120 or 180? It's all whatever. So I'm just testing this idea out and letting the adventure be the adventure, going out there and collecting stories and just relaxing a little bit. And I know there's a compromise, and the compromise is I'm going to make less money, but I've already made that compromise a couple of different ways. I decided I didn't want to go out late at night. I decided I'm not taking my Prius. I'm going to take my more expensive Tesla, whatever. You and I are already compromising how we're not going to make the most amount of money. Because if you want to make the most amount of money, go back to that list and take a look at it. And now maybe even get a cheaper Uber Black car if you have Uber Black in your city, or whatever it might be. Flip rides from person or from Uber to private, whatever it might be. There are ways to make more money. But I think our health, our mental health really matters. And sometimes grinding to make an extra 15, 20 bucks. And that's probably what I would have made more. If I'd have grinded, I maybe would have made 15, 20, 30 more bucks. And is it worth it? And sometimes it's okay to take a break. And that's kind of the way I was looking at it. I don't know. Have you ever done that? Just like turn the app on and kind of seen where the Uber app is going to take you, that adventure. Have you ever thought about just slowing down in life and observing and soaking it all in? That's kind of what it was for me. Now I want to tell you about a ride that I had yesterday. And so it's apropos, it's fitting that here I'm doing this experiment, and I met a guy yesterday. What stood out to me about this ride? He was extremely nice, talkative, and I always like that from a passenger. A passenger that is curious. And of course, he wants to know, how much of the fare that I made and all this kind of stuff. He wants to, tell me about Uber and the challenges. But he said something that really stood out to me, especially in relation to this episode, this podcast. He said something to the effect that when he left high school, instead of going off to college to study, he decided to go to work because he wanted to make money right away. And he regrets that. And he's older. I mean, let's say he's in his 30s. I don't know. I didn't get a sense of how old he was, but he said that's what he wants to do. He wants to go back to study. And he didn't have anything in particular he wanted to study. He just regrets not going to college when he had the chance right out of high school. And now he's stuck working minimum wage jobs, and it's a grind. And that's the thing. I think there's a tragedy in that, because now his life is not full of wonder, like the guy in the John Denver Rocky Mountain song. His life is just this burden of having to go to work, put up with it, do what he can, make a little bit of money, and grind his way through it. And I don't know if that availability of just checking out for a little while is like what I'm doing with Uber is available to him. And all I could tell him at the end of it, we shook hands at the end of the ride. The moment was real and it stuck with me. And I just let him know that I'm cheering for him. I hope he finds the time to go back to school. In fact, don't even wait. Just turn on YouTube and start learning something right away. Open a book and start reading. Not that he's not reading books, but you know what I mean. I think sometimes when I'm grinding as an Uber driver, I miss those moments. And those moments, those human connections are what make this job really special to me. Now to your questions. Keith, channel member, thank you so much, Keith. He asked me, do you think that Tesla will let us drive under their program like Uber, but Tesla? That's interesting. So Tesla has a brand underneath their company called Robotaxi, and Robotaxi is the autonomous cars that go around and drive and pick up passengers like Waymo. They're in Austin and they're testing out in California, but they're going to expand and they're building a lot of cars. But one of the promises that Elon Musk had is that, hey, if you buy a Tesla, any Tesla, your car could potentially be put onto the Robotaxi network. And I've never really thought that's really a good idea. I don't think I would let anybody in my personal car without me being there. But Keith asked, do I think Tesla will let us drive, basically be in the car? Maybe we're doing it autonomously or driving. It doesn't really matter, but same as Uber. And I think they're going to have to. If Tesla is going to build all these robotaxis and expand to all these cities, I think at some point in time, they're going to have to not only open up the market so that autonomous cars can get out there, but because regulation is going to happen in liability, it's going to force potentially for drivers to be in the car for some period of time. And the most logical thing would be to say, hey, Tesla owner, you can do it, but you have to be in the car. So yeah, I do think so. I'd say probability is better than not it happening. So that'd be kind of neat to turn on your Tesla app and just go out and Uber drive as a Tesla driver. Good Medicine asked, in Colorado, they created a rideshare cooperative where drivers make 80% of the fare and keep tips. Your thoughts? Cool. I love all the different software solutions, all the different apps that are coming out, all the different cooperatives and things like that, ways for drivers to make more money. I don't think that the percentage of the fare is the biggest criteria for making the most amount of money, but it does seem like a good option for drivers. why am I not a big proponent of stuff like this is probably a better question, because I like the freedom of just using the Uber app. The Uber app takes care a lot of all the noise. It costs money, and I don't like that they take a bigger percentage of the fare. I'd like to make more money, but it is easier. And I do like that. So, but yeah, I love all the different competitors that are coming out. And I think whether it's Empower, this cooperative, whatever it might be, these are all new things that are going to challenge Uber and push the whole industry to get better, and hopefully better for drivers. Kethos says, I love that you say the truth about Uber Pay drivers. It's amazing. I did a $300 customer cost and I get $100 for the run. It's unbelievable. Are you afraid that Uber will see your videos and get a strike from them? I see some YouTuber getting strike from Uber about talking against the price they receive. Yeah. So what you're saying is you got a passenger paid 300 and you only got 100, and that seems really unfair, and it does. Um, when you say the truth about Uber, what I try to do is present facts, the facts that I have readily available to me. So my own data, and I try to present that as honestly as possible. I would prefer that I presented a good story. Hey, look, here's how Uber's operating, but it does seem like Uber's doing shady stuff, and I hope they're not. But it's hard for me to say one way or another. But it's just like the commercial auto insurance just seems so not right, and I don't understand it. So I hope that by presenting all of the data that I have and sharing it, that people find out and Uber corrects. But am I afraid of them getting a strike for them? I think if you compare me to a lot of the other Uber YouTube content creators, whoever they may be, I think I'm the best representative for Uber. Some people, they're fire breathers, and they call the CEO names and stuff like that. And I want to do that too. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I get really frustrated, but am I afraid of it? No. If I don't know what I would do if Uber kicked me off the app, but my assumption would be that my time to go is my time to go. It's kind of like a death. I guess I would become more of a Lyft driver. I might do DoorDash. I might just knuckle down and actually turn this YouTube channel into some real money, or something like that. I don't know. Speaking of money, in closing, thank you to the sponsors, GigU and Red Tiger. Hey, become a member of this YouTube channel. Get first access and exclusive content. If you don't want to pay the $3 a month, I get it. No worries. Join the free driver community over on Facebook. It's under the Tip You in the App name, under groups. And you know what? You can connect with me anywhere. I'm on almost all the social media platforms, and each one's a little bit different. I talk a lot more about golf on X, and I talk a lot more about business over on LinkedIn. So you can connect with me anywhere. But drivers, for 2026, I want you to make as much money as possible. I really do. Don't take my advice. Today's episode was not about advice on how to be a good Uber driver and make as much money as possible. But I want you to be safe. I want you to be healthy. And I want you to be happy. I want you to enjoy the ride. My name is Levi Spires. I am cheering for you. Be well. Bye.